Here at Paddy Power, we're the home of the Money Back Special, with some incredible offers every single week. Check out the website or app today. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
Hello and welcome to this Monday Postcast. I'm Maddie Plell, joined in the studio by Nick Watts, and we have our good friend Paul Binfield from Paddy Power on the line. As per usual, the first section of this postcast is going to be dedicated to looking back at the weekend. We had the Middle Park, the Chieveley Park at Newmarket, and also some really good action from over in Ireland yesterday, including with a new classic contender emerging for next year. So that's what we've got in store before we look at some of the midweek action and some of the weekend races as well. Lots to look forward to. Watsy, first off, eventful weekend in many ways. We've got Earthlight on the screen behind us. He won the Middle Park. Let's start with him. 5 out of 5, but a race which sort of, I wouldn't say necessarily disappointed, but there was an element of that to it, no?
Yeah, I think so. I think what happened to Siskin at the start detracted quite a lot from the race. You had different strands of form coming into it. Both were unbeaten. You wanted to see a real head-to-head and to be fighting out inside the final furlong and seeing which one was the best. But we didn't get to see that because of what happened down at the start, which is very unfortunate for Siskin. Hopefully he hasn't sustained any damage. It was a nasty incident. But yeah, I mean, as soon as that happens, it kind of, that's not what you want to see. And Earthlight was workmanlike, not fantastic. Like you said, he's increased his winning spree to, I think it was 5 races now, isn't it? So he's obviously very useful. It'll be interesting going forward to see how they split him and Pinatubo. Once that started, it kind of took away a little bit from the relevance of it all for me, because you want to see the top horses going head to head, and we didn't see that.
Yeah, it was a bit of a funny race. Now, not to sort of discredit those that did fill the runners-up positions, but obviously Mum's Tipple, I believe, finished lame, didn't seem to handle the dip, never really figured. Same goes for Monarch of Egypt, really disappointing. Threat didn't really figure. Didn't quite deliver as a race as we anticipated it to, did it?
It can often happen like that. You build these races as classics, and for one reason or other, as you just mentioned, Mum's Tipple, maybe going lame during the race, for example. Threat probably found it a bit sharp, so didn't get involved. Siskin, we've already mentioned. So for those reasons, and it just can often happen that way. It's strange when they all turn up and run their races, and you have a fantastic race. More often than not, you'll get one of them running their race, Earthlight maybe, and a few others disappointing. And it kind of leaves you with questions to kind of ask about the form. And it certainly wasn't a wow performance. It wasn't one that afterwards you go, that was amazing. I can't wait to get on that. Let's see what prices are available for big races next year. It wasn't one of those. But it's a case of job done, I'm sure, for Andre Fabre. Brought the horse over. He obliged. He's got experience of Newmarket. It gives him more options going forward for next year. And from that point of view, good. But I wouldn't be surprised if now Pinatubo's Newmarket and maybe Earthlight stays domestically for the early part of next season.
Yeah, it could well be a possibility. Let's not be too downbeat. I mean, personally, I was quite impressed with Earthlight. I think, like you say, he looked workmanlike, but I think it was really quite easy for him. Disappointing that the good horses didn't come to the fore as we thought they might. But I really like this horse. I like his attitude. As you say, he gets the job done. I think there's more to come from him. He's a tough little cookie, I think. Binners, how did the market react? 2,000 guineas wise, it's a funny one because obviously Godolphin have Pinatubo, but he got the experience of the track here, so maybe they could run both of them.
Yeah, let's hope so, Maddie. Andre Fabre suggested that Sheikh Mohammed is a real sportsman and might not be adverse to running both of them. We'd love to see that. Pinatubo still heads the market at 11 to 10, but Earthlight could do no more than win, even though the Siskin incident was very disappointing for everyone there and watching on ITV. But anyway, we've cut Earthlight to 8 to 1 from 12 to 1 after winning that, and the trip was probably a little bit sharp for him. Probably 7 or a mile or suit him more, and he could do, as I said, he could do no more than win.
Indeed, yeah. I think another good winner for Shamadal, that as well. Really top sire, going places, even at his age. Anyway, we'll move on to the fillies equivalent, if you like, the Chieveley Park. Again, bit of a surprise. We had Royal Dornoch, winning the Royal Lodge at 16 to 1. Another 16 to 1 winner in Mill Isle, Watsy, and Jessica Harrington. Her juveniles are just superb this season.
Yeah, she's an amazing trainer, Jessica Harrington. Could have a tendency to think of her as predominantly a jumps trainer, but for years now she's been doing good things on the flat as well, and she's very much dual purpose. She always gets some very good horses for the summer, and Mill Isle, another one. It looked like Raffle Prize had that sewn up, but Mill Isle got a really good run up the rail and really flew close home and actually won quite comfortably. It'd be interesting to see where they go with Mill Isle next season, because the breeding is all speed. Star Spangled Banner is the sire out of an Indian Ridge mare. You'd think she'd have no chance of getting a mile at all, but apparently Shane Foley afterwards was of the opinion that she might stay a mile. So you could see her in a trial somewhere next spring, maybe over intermediate trips, 7 furlongs, see how she gets on.
Yeah.
And see how she finishes off her race then, and she might have a shot at a classic. But at this stage, I would be thinking more along the lines of sprinting and Commonwealth Cups and that kind of thing, because that's, according to her breeding anyway, that's what she should be excelling at, rather than trying to be stretched out to a mile.
That's interesting, because I actually disagree. I saw the quotes for the guineas after 40 to 1. I thought, that may be quite big. And I went into her pedigree, and like you, a lot of it is immediately speedy. Like you say, Star Spangled Banner, but there is actually quite a lot of stamina in there as well. And I think she was quite outpaced at one stage, wasn't she? And she came with that really strong late run. So I don't know, I wouldn't discount for the guineas. I think that's quite a big price.
The other thing is, you are right. You can never say never with breeding. You can pigeonhole horses sometimes, and maybe I've been guilty of doing that just then. The breeding, you look at Indian Ridge, you look at Star Spangled Banner, and you immediately think sprinting. But maybe on running style, maybe she might get it. So there's always exceptions to rules with breeding, and this could be another one. Yeah,
exactly. I didn't mean to sort of turn your opinion down there. You've been in this game a lot longer than I have. You've probably got it down to a T. Binners, I think the market agreed with Watsy, and she's a lot shorter for the Commonwealth Cup than she is the Guineas. Is that right?
Yeah, I phoned up our traders immediately after the race, Maddie, and Frank Hickey had a look at her breeding, and he suggested that she was more of a sprinter, so we put her into the Commonwealth Cup at 16 to 1 first show. But Jessica Harrington was making the point that the dam side of Mill Isle is quite strong for stamina, and if the ground came up good at Newmarket, as Michael Prosser, the clerk of the course, suggested it would in May, she may come back for the 1,000 guineas, and she's 25 to 1 from 33 to 1 for the first Phillies Classic.
Yeah, still quite open. I thought Etoile ran quite an eye-catching race in that Cheveley Park, so one to keep an eye on there for sure. Let's move on to the Cambridgeshire then, the big betting race, and a well-backed favourite, a winning favourite, John Gosden, Frankie Dettori and Lord North. What more is there to say?
Well, it's a well-worn, route, isn't it, to find the winner of the Cambridgeshire, is to go with the John Gosden horse, Frankie Dettori riding. There was a kind of sense of inevitability about it from the strength in the betting beforehand. And Frankie was doing quite a lightweight, I think, for him as well. So really, really good performance. It kind of feels like a cheats way to find the winner of the Cambridge, actually. You just look for the group horse in the handicap, but it can be that simple sometimes. And I'm sure, as Wissa Hickon proved in last season, went on to great things on your weather during the winter. Most of John Gosden's Cambridgeshire winners do go on. I mean, the most famous example, of course, was Halling all those years ago. Yeah. But Pipe Dreamer obviously went on to be a good horse as well. He seems to be able to line one up at will for this race. And I think you've got to mark up the performance as well, because I don't think he got a completely clear run through. So he had an awful lot of ground to make up on Beringer. But it was just hands and heels from Frankie. He never had to resort to the whip once. I love
that cheeky look round as he knew he was sort of going to pass anyway.
Yeah, so I think the winning margin was only about 3/4 of the length, but that doesn't tell the whole story, because he had a huge amount in hand, Lord North, and I think you've got to be very positive about him, because he had very little experience coming into the race. He had no experience of big fields whatsoever, and of course he had a little bit of trouble in running as well. So to overcome all that, win on the bridle, it can only mean good things, and he's surely got to be headed for group races. I think that's the last time you see him in the handicap.
Yeah, you mentioned Wissa Hickon there. I think he's going to take a similar route, maybe go the all-weather and races like the sort of classic on finals day and things like that. So we'll see how good he is soon. Binners, any prices for Lord North, or just a sort of strong impression from you as well?
Yeah, no prices for Lord North, Maddie, as you say, going the winter route, the winter derby, races like that. You said cheeky look from Frankie, you enjoyed that. I'm not sure Torhammer Hansen claiming the 5 for Alan King would be quite so keen about Frankie's extreme stare as he went past him, but bad luck to Alan King. It looked like going into the final furlong, Beringer would prevail, but Lord North, that's John Gosden's 5th race, 5th Cambridgeshire now. No other trainer who's saddled one on Saturday had won the race more than once, and Lord North proved the proverbial good thing. Went off favourite. We kept him on side, but the places weren't brilliant for us, and it was a costly enough race to Cambridgeshire.
Yeah, interesting insight that. I must admit, Beringer's one of my good old friends. I did have a tiny little each way on him, but I knew from some way out that Lord North was going to catch him. The writing was on the wall. Anyway, we'll move over to the Curragh then. 2 really good days from there. We have the likes of Speaking Colours winning the Renaissance, Castaza winning another Group 3, and Make a Challenge as well continued his progression. But yesterday was the most important race regarding looking forward, and that was the Beresford Stakes. Aidan O'Brien now won it 19 times, and this was his 8th consecutive winner with Innisfree, beating Sheckham. And another, as I said at the top of the show, what's he, classic contender for next year?
Yeah, it's always impossible to know how these horses stack up from Ballydoyle and how well considered Innisfree is at the moment. They're all fantastically well-bred horses at Ballydoyle, and when they win races like this, they can suddenly take a leap forward and kind of go up the pecking order very quickly. So immediate reaction was I wasn't overly impressed with him. He was beating the same horse, Sheckham, who he beat at Galway, and he beat by exactly the same margin. So he kind of did what he did the time before. But again, I'm sure he'd be one for an early season trial next season, maybe the Ballysack, something like that. And I wouldn't want to be too harsh on him. I remember See the Stars winning that race, the Beresford Stakes, as a 2-year-old, not looking absolutely fantastic or give you the wow factor or anything like that. And of course, he went on to absolutely amazing things as a 3-year-old. So, it can be deceiving. He might only have just done enough. Be interesting to see if he has a good winter, comes out and he gets those early entries next season, then that might be a statement of intent that he is the real deal and could go on to Epsom. But like I said, immediate reaction, not impressed, but you can never say never with this stable.
Yeah, I'm on exactly the same sort of level as you. No fireworks, but he got the job done, didn't he? Binners, what price did you introduce him at for the Derby and targets like that?
Yeah, well, we put him in at 33 to 1, Maddie, for the Derby, so he's a fair outsider. But then saying that, Pinatubo 7 to 1 favourite, 8 to 1 Mogul, and it's 25 to 1 Bar. So he's still one of the leading candidates for the race. Just an interesting observation that I thought up myself. But sometimes people suggest that betting on horses is not that clever. But when you have 2 horses who race against each other over 7 furlongs and a mile, and the result is the same and neck each time, you have to look at the consistency of the form and think, maybe it is quite a good betting medium.
We're going to take a quick break now, but before we do, I'm going to put a plug in for our app. If you haven't already, please download it. It's got all the must-have race cards you need. You can bet through it, and all the information you need for punting and just for your general sporting pleasure is on there, so be sure to do that.
What's my horse's handicap? The fact that you're backing him? Everyone loves a newbie. That's why Paddy Power Games are giving all new customers 60 free spins on daily jackpot games. New Paddy Power Games customers only, 1 per customer. T's and C's apply. 18+. Be gambleware.org.
Welcome back to this Monday Postcast, and we're going to have a look at some of the action midweek now. Our first venue is at Cork, the 3:35 on Tuesday. It's the Listed Navigation Stakes. Pincheck is the top rated here at 109, but there's some really interesting contenders like Upheliar, Wargrave, and interestingly, Amadeo Modigliani, who was last seen finishing 4th in the Listed Heritage Stakes. Once a really big hype horse for Aidan O'Brien, that. Binners, what are your thoughts?
Well, Maddie, at time of speaking, we haven't got it priced up. I think Pincheck will be very difficult to beat for Jessica Harrington, who's having a brilliant season, including Mill Isle, who we talked about on the first segment. Pincheck last time was 3rd in the Group 2 Boomerang Stakes on Irish Champions Weekend over this sort of trip. the horse has won on soft ground, and I just think he'll be very difficult to beat.
Yeah, as I say, the ratings would certainly agree with that. Just a brief look, as no final declarations, of course, for that Navigation Stakes. Keep an eye on that Amadeo Modigliani. Will be interesting to see how he gets on. We'll go across to Ascot then, this side the Irish Sea. The 2:35 on Friday is the London Metric Noel Merler Stakes. Another listed affair over 1.6 mile. Quite a historic contest, this one. And against some intriguing contenders, the Melrose form is advertised here in the shape of a couple of runners. What's a fancy from you?
Yeah, I quite like Hereby, Rafe Beckett's filly, daughter of Look Here, who won the Oaks for him a few years ago in fantastic form. Won at Chester last time out. I think that made it 3 in a row and up £9 for that. But you can understand why. She won by quite a wide margin. She's proven with cutting the ground as well. And I think that's something to bear in mind for punters wherever you're going this week. Is that we've lost a meeting today in Newton Abbot because of the weather, and there's a lot of wet weather around. So it's that time of year when it's just on the turn a little bit. Horses have been on the go for quite some time, these summer horses. And with the ground changing, you do have to step carefully. But Hereby looks like one that should be suited by weather conditions if there is a lot of rainfall at Ascot this week. So she shouldn't be put off by that. And I think in her current form, she's got a good chance.
Yeah, I mentioned that Melrose form. Just Hubert and Keith, two that ran in that race. Just Hubert winning last time in Scotland. He's a really nice horse. I think he's one to keep on side. Some really good progressive horses in this, Binners.
Yeah, clearly Nick's selection on a 4-timer, and she's been going well. I'm going to go with Mark Johnston's I'll Have Another. I know she got well beaten on at Goodwood last week, but that was on heavy ground. It was pretty soft there. And before that, she ran really well over a mile and a half on a penultimate start at Ascot. Back over this 1.6 miles, I think she'll have a great chance.
Okay, so that's Friday. We'll move on to the feature on Saturday, which is the Kingdom of Bahrain Sun Chariot Stakes. Again, just talking about this sort of not in the most detail because the lads will be back on Friday to do that on the tipping postcast. But we have some really top quality mares engaged here. Just run us through the current market, Binners.
Well, Voracious heads the market, Maddie, at 7-2. Then it's everybody's great favourite, Lawrence at 5-1, together with Lavenders Blue and Hermosa. Iridessa 6-1, 8-1. Watch Me, and it's 12-1. The rest.
Thank you very much, Binners. And who would your selection be? Do you think Voracious is a solid favourite?
Well, I'll take Voracious on, actually, Maddie. I think Lawrence is a big price at 5-1. I have a lot of respect for Lavenders Blue, who I saw win at Sandown the other day for Amanda and Mark Perrett. I think she'll have a good shout. But Lawrence, I think I think she's a big price, and she's very, very good at Newmarket. She won the Fillies Mile over this mile. Obviously over a mile, second to Bilston Brook in the 1,000 guineas the next season, and she won this race last year. So 5-1 looks a tremendous price in my humble opinion.
Yeah, fourth in the Matron Stakes last time behind Iridessa and Hermosa. Hermosa being second, of course, Iridessa the winner. Not sure out of those two who's going to turn up, but I think Lawrence is slightly better than that. What's he?
Yeah, I don't know.
She's a funny horse, isn't she?
I just get she's funny, but she's won an awful lot of Group 1s. But
yeah.
I think the point I'd make, I just wonder if she's at her very best at the moment. I thought, Doncaster run two starts ago. I thought that was a good option for her to win that day, and she couldn't get the job done. I know she only just got touched off, but I expected her to win that. And then in the Matron Stakes last time, I think you said she finished fourth eventually, but she just kind of thought she capitulated a little bit too quickly for my liking. And I can understand where Binners is coming from, that she's 5-1 to win the race that she's won. She won last season. So, from a price perspective, she's a little bit bigger than maybe you would ordinarily get with a horse like that. But I don't know. I think the front two. I think Voracious is slightly vulnerable as well. I thought she won quite a poor Group 1 last time out, and she's not one that I'm kind of crying out to back at her price. So I think the interesting one for me is Lavenders Blue. Now I know the market hasn't necessarily missed her either. She's not a huge price, but you probably, because of the stable she comes from, you get a couple of points bigger maybe than she arguably should be. I think she's had a nice light campaign. She went for the Oaks, didn't stay that day. That was a 1.5 miles, but she had a good bit of time off after that. And she went for the Atalanta Stakes at Sandown last time, and I thought she won really, really eye-catchingly. And so she's had a nice light season. You know, she had those couple of early season starts which were very promising and made connections kind of roll the dice and go for the Oaks in the first place, but that didn't come off. But she's had, you know, a lot of time off since then. She's come back with a really, really fluent victory, and I think those ones that if you mind them over the summer, they can repay you in the autumn. And I thought she won very nicely, and I think it'd be really nice to see a stable like Amanda Perrott who you know gets some nice horses, not necessarily out of the top drawer. If she could get a Group 1 win, I think it'd be a nice result, and I think they've got a good chance of achieving it as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's quite a few at the top of the market that could be vulnerable. So a really interesting contest that. We'll wait to see who lines up. As I say, more detail on Friday's show. We are going to go across to the showpiece now, though, on Sunday. It is, of course, the Qatar Prix de Triomphe. Enable, can she do it? A third arc, how amazing that would be. The final forfeits, we've still got Japan, Sotsas, Gaieth, Magical Wildgeist all involved there. So hopefully no more come out before race day, but this is going to be an absolute humdinger, Watsy.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic, and you know it's going to be a great build-up all week long. You know, for anyone lucky enough to be in Paris on Sunday, it's going to be a great occasion, possibly historic. I actually think she'll do it. I really do. I think she's such a professional horse, which has enabled her to hold her form so well. Pardon
I
the
see
pun.
what you did there.
I didn't even do that on purpose. Yeah, I think the fact that her style of racing, the fact that she never she's not flashy. She's completely different to Frankel in that respect, who would win by wide margins, wide distances, really try and pummel his opposition. She's not like that. She'll just get the job done. And she's obviously so tough. She's been to different tracks. She's been left-handed, right-handed. She's been to America. She's been to France. And if you look back to last season, she had a horrendous build-up to this race. You know, they just managed to squeeze in a really little prep race at Kempton on the all-weather for her. And then came straight here, and she still managed to win. Yeah, okay, she was a bit lucky that day. Maybe Sia Class should have won, but the fact is she still got the 1 next to her name. She's had a much better campaign this time around. She's beaten everything in front of her. She had a nice little jog around at York last time out. Apparently the training has been going well. So I'm very hopeful that history can be made. And I think the kind of elephant in the room, if you're looking to oppose her, is what to do with Gaieth, and what do you think of Gaieth? It's very rare that you see a Group 1 in the style that he won it last time, and Godolphin have used that route before with Marion Bard a few years ago, who came and won the Arc. Do you take that form at face value, and is he an absolute giant in the making, or was he a bit flattered by that, and will he deceive in Paris? I'm not sure. I'm probably a little bit cautious about it. Maybe I don't quite believe what my eyes saw, and for that reason, I'd probably oppose Gaieth, and I'm going to stick with the Wonder Mare Enable. Yeah,
I agree with you on Gaieth. I think as much as he's such an impressive-looking horse as well, there is something a bit bizarre about that sort of run, and an Arc's going to be a totally different scenario for him. Binners, I mean, it's as Watsy said, it's going to be a great occasion for all involved. Can you see the money sort of piling into Enable late?
Yeah, I think she will get back. There's going to be tons of British and Irish race goers over there, all going over to have a backer and see history. It's one of those races where we have an 8 to 11 favourite in Enable, where I'm sure the bookies actually want the favourite to win. It'll be tremendous publicity for the sport. We'll make the front pages as well as the back pages, and hopefully the lead items on the news if Enable does the business. But it's no walkover. All those horses you've mentioned: 6 to 1 Japan and Sotsas, 8 to 1 Magical, 12 to 1 Gaieth and Wildgeist, and it's 25 to 1 Bar.
Yeah, the cynic in me sort of thinks, maybe something strange is going to happen. Maybe she can't win it. But on all we've seen this season, she should be very, very tough to beat. And just fingers crossed, everything goes to plan between now and Sunday. Come on, Enable.
I think if you're thinking like you do, that I think her professionalism should put you at ease. She's coped with so many different scenarios in races. It doesn't seem to faze her at all. She didn't have a great trip at Ascot for a lot of the race. Caught out wide, didn't bother her. So I think whatever happens to her during the race, she'll just cope with it.
Yeah.
So, you might think something funny might happen, or tactics in a race. But I think with her professionalism should put you at complete comfort, because she'll get herself out of it.
You are spot on, and she couldn't have a better partner in Frankie Dettori. He knows her so well, knows how to manoeuvre her. It's just that, I don't know, I almost think it's too good to be true, but I hope I'm wrong. as you say, I have no reason really to doubt her. Neither do any of us. Right, let's take a break now before we go through the midweek cards.
I'm Jose Mourinho. I know a thing or two about being special. Nearly dying in a laundry basket. Special. Winning the daily jackpot on Paddy Power games. Not special.
Understood, Jose. Yes, someone wins an average £40,000 jackpot every single day. So if you win, don't think you're special. Daily Jackpots by Paddy Power Games. Jackpots must be awarded by 11 p.m. and vary from day to day. Jackpot is shared with other operators. Available on selected games. T's and C's at paddypower.com. 18+ BeGambleAware.org.
Welcome back to the final instalment of this Monday Postcast. We're going to look at the midweek racing now. We've had a look at that Cork, the Navigation Stakes and the Noel Merlis Stakes at Ascot, as well as some of the feature racing this weekend. But I'll spin you through where we're racing this week. Tomorrow is Ayr, Sedgefield, Cork, Southall and Kempton. Wednesday is Bangor, Nottingham, Huntingdon, Kempton, Newcastle. Thursday is Lingfield, Clonmel, Salisbury, Warwick, Wolverhampton and Chelmsford. Friday, Ascot, Hexham, Fontwell and Southall. Interesting time of year, Binners, with a lot of the jumpers coming out. Often my favourite time of year these next couple of weeks. What have you got your eye on?
Well, I think my next best, Maddie, is in the 420 at Ayr today, gone tomorrow. The 7 furlong handicap on Tuesday. A horse for the Meath magician, John McConnell, called Sagittarius Rising. He was beating a fag paper over this same trip and ground at Listowel last time, and I think John's raid over the Irish Sea will be successful.
What time's that race at?
That's at 4:20 on Tuesday, Maddie.
Fantastic. We'll go over to the naps now.
This will not be beaten.
Just the one for you this week. What's who is it?
Yeah, so it's called Ottoman Court in the 255 at Salisbury on Thursday. Charlie Appleby trains it. William Buick jocked up already. Represents a quadrilateral form. Ran behind her at Newbury over 7 furlongs. That was back in August. Ran quite well. Only beaten about 3.5, 4 lengths. I'll say that, but obviously quadrilateral. This one again looks amazing. Won by even further. So, the form looks reasonable. Been gelded since that run as well, and back over 6 furlongs here. That was over 7, so I think that will suit. There's a bit of dig in the ground at Salisbury. Think he'll handle that okay. So Ottoman Court for me.
Brilliant, exciting form line. As you say, quadrilateral. She could be anything, couldn't she? The Frankel filly. Binners, your nap.
I've got a 2-year-old called Tsar, Tsar, runs at Newcastle, 6:55 on Wednesday, over a mile in a novice race. This one was fourth on his debut at Newmarket's July course. Very, very slowly away that day, and only ended up beating 2.25 lengths. So I'd expect him to travel up to Newcastle, win this, and if he wins it well, he has an entry in the Vertem Futurity Trophy at Doncaster next month.
Fantastic, Binners. I must admit quite a few people have mentioned that horse to me, so definitely one to keep on side. That Tsar will be good to see him this week. That's all we've got time for now though. As I said earlier in the show, the lads will be back on Friday to preview this week's action, as well as looking at the Arc and the Sun Chariots. So make sure you look forward to that. Best luck with wherever you're betting this week, and we'll see you soon.
Check out Paddy's Rewards Club. Simply place 5 bets of £10 or more across any sport in a week, and you'll get a free £10 bet the next week. T&Cs apply. 18+ BeGambleAware.org.